This time it's sporting Triumph twins of the 1950s. Well, before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really does help us create more content. Well, of course, the story of Triumph's parallel twin sports bikes begins with the Tiger 100 of 1939, a machine whose story is cut short by the unfortunate arrival of World War II. And after the destruction of their Coventry factory, no parallel twins are produced during the war. Instead, they produce a range of single-cylinder 350, side valve and overhead valve units, the 3SW and the 3HW. Post-war 1946 would see the reintroduction of the Speed Twin, soon followed by the sportier Tiger 100. Not surprisingly, little was changed from the pre-war model, save the introduction of telescopic forks. To help promote the new bikes, a team was entered into the 1947 Clubman's TT, with their best finisher Alan Jeffreys, who finished second at an average speed of 75.23 miles an hour, on what was in fact a more or less standard Tiger 100. Now, not long after the introduction of the road-going Tiger 100, some bright spark at the factory realised that if they grafted the all-aluminium top end that they developed during the Second World War as part of a generator set programme, this would result in an engine which was superior in terms of cooling and was also much more tunable. And this would result in the GP and the Trophy. The GP was the road racing variant, which was introduced in 1946 and won the Manx Grand Prix that year. The Grand Prix machine was available as a production bike between 1948 and 1950, so only just fits in the terms of this video, but it's an interesting side point nevertheless, and its 40 horsepower performance made it an excellent clubman racer. And there would also be an off-road version, the TR5. This machine made just 25 horsepower and was really introduced for the International 6-day trial competition, and the TR5 would run much longer than the Grand Prix bike, lasting until 1958, although in the latter years it would use a more conventional styled engine, although still with an aluminium barrel and top end. Now, the TR5 was very successful in its own right, with Triumph being the only manufacturer to win a team award in the 1948 International 6-day trial. In 1951, the TR5 dispensed with its generator-based engine, and while all aluminium, the new engine now had the more traditional splayed exhausts. Unsurprisingly, this engine was now applied to the Tiger 100 of the same year, and for the clubman racer, Triumph made a racing kit available which included a number of die-cast alloy components. But even in standard trim, despite the rather poor quality fuel available at that point, it still ran a 7.6 to 1 compression ratio and produced 32 horsepower at 6,500 rpm. The machine only weighed in at 355 pounds incidentally. If you chose a racing kit, then you got high compression pistons. These could be specified for the particular owner, as well as open mega exhausts, a larger oil tank, dual carburetors, and wilder camshafts. And while it may not be able to tackle a Works Norton, it still made for a pretty good clubman racer. Another interesting sideline for the Tiger 100 would be American Class C racing. Triumph would modify some of the Tiger 100 specifically for this event, and this would begin a love affair between Americans and the Tiger brand name. The Tiger 100 was of 498cc, with a board stroke of 63 by 80. Compression ratio did vary, with early machines being hampered by the rather poor quality pool petrol of the early 1950s, but this would gradually rise, with compression ratio on later models being up around 8.3 to 1. There was a single AML carburettor and a 4-speed transmission, with Triumph's characteristic up-for-up gear pattern. Front suspension was Triumph's own telescopic front forks, with a rigid back end on early models, with the fairly ineffectual sprung hub being available as an option. Thankfully, for those of us with more sensitive derrieres, proper swinging arm suspension would take its bow in 1954. Unfortunately, to save weight, this new frame was a bit on the flimsy side, although in truth this is less of a problem than the 500, it being much lighter than the bigger 650. Which of course leads us nicely on to the bigger sporting models. Although strangely in Britain, people at the beginning, initially at least, much preferred their smaller 500. And this leads us on to the 650. The first 650 was the Thunderbird, which was really designed with the American market in mind. With its iron head and barrel, the engine produced around 34 horsepower, enough to give the machine a top speed of around 100 miles an hour. And just as Triumph had done before the war with the Speed Twin, they would follow the Thunderbird with a sportier model. And this would be the 1953 Tiger 110. And as with the earlier machines, the 110 does suggest the notional top speed of the bike. And to that end, the machine was measured at a true 109 miles an hour by the Motorcycle magazine in the mid-50s. The Tiger 110 featured an engine of 649 cc's, with a bore stroke of 71 by 82 mm. Compression ratio was 8.5 to 1, and there was of course a 4-speed gearbox with the usual Triumph up for up setting. Triumph claimed 40 horsepower at 6,500 rpm, although from 56 onwards this would be raised when the machine received higher compression pistons, modified porting, a new camshaft and larger carburetors, resulting in perhaps one of Triumph's finest sporting machines, the archetypal single carburetor sporting big twin. Superseded by the Bonneville, the machine became rather stodgy looking in the latter part of the 50s, resembling something of an enlarged 3TA. Now there had been twin carb kits available for the Tiger 110 before the advent of the Bonneville, but with pressure mounting for the American importers for a more powerful parallel twin, it seemed obvious there was going to be an off-the-peg twin carburetor version of the 110. But what to name the new twin carb Sportster? The answer came in 1956, when American Johnny Allen set a new speed record of 214 miles an hour in a cigar-shaped streamliner featuring two 650 engines. This record had of course been set on the Bonneville salt flats, and thus in 1958 for the 59 season, Triumph unveiled its twin carburetor 650cc Bonneville T120. Now while the Bonneville would go on to be Triumph's best known model, the 1959 model was not much liked by the all-important American market, who didn't appreciate the curvaceous sports tourer styling. And so 1960 would see completely revised, much more sporty styling to give the archetypal Bonneville look. Unsurprisingly, the Bonneville's engine was very similar to that of the Tiger 110, that is 649 cc's with a 71 by 82 bore and stroke. Even the compression ratio on early models was the same 8.5 to 1. But there were revised camshafts and of course those twin carburetors. This lifted engine performance to 46 horsepower at 6,500 rpm. But despite the T120 moniker, the machine couldn't actually hit 120 miles an hour, with a top speed somewhere around 115 miles an hour, and some publications putting it as low as 110. The machine was pretty light at 393 pounds, but it wasn't the best handling machine on the road, although this would improve during the 1960s. Handling aside, however, there's no doubt that the pre-unit Bonnie is one of Britain's most beautiful motorcycles. Whatever bikes or collections of bikes would you like to see us feature in a future video? Maybe you got a bike we can use for a test ride. Either way, get in touch below. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course, thank you very much for watching.